Malik's First Job, Financial Principles for Teens, is an excellent resource to get your children started on understanding the basics of financial literacy. This book, which is set in Brownsville, Brooklyn, about a young man who gets his first job and then shortly thereafter sits down with his dad to learn how to manage his money. There are several topics that are covered within this work, such as paying yourself first, disciplining your spending, knowing the difference between an asset and a liability, creating multiple sources of income, as well as the importance of being charitable. So again, if you want to get your children started on understanding finance and becoming responsible adults, we highly recommend that you purchase the book, Malik's First Job, Financial Principles for Teens. So please visit maliksfirstjob.com to get more information. Peace.
But that is 1,000% correct, man. Those fruits are essential and come with intelligence. That food has life in it, and it comes with intelligence that aligns to our body, that helps us heal, helps us grow and develop and respond to, earth in a very, very, very critical way, man. And I think that goes overlooked a lot of times. But, some foods just don't grow here. And some fruits don't grow, period. like if we was to say
Malik's First Job Podcast, here to answer any questions that y'all ask. Financial literacy and resources, parents and young people becoming bosses, CEOs, future leaders, entrepreneurs, conferences and boardrooms getting sponsors secured. If you want generational wealth, Brooklyn's own Kerwin Phillip with information to help. Malik's First Job Podcast, Malik's Podcast, Brooklyn's own Kerwin Phillip, Kerwin Phillip. Malik's First Job Podcast, Brooklyn's own Kerwin Phillip. Generational wealth.
Peace. What's going on? Welcome to another episode of the Malik's First Job Podcast, where we discuss leadership, entrepreneurship, and financial literacy. Today, we got a great guest, gentleman I know as Coach Timothy Jean-Pierre, but we call him Coach P for short. I'm going to have him introduce himself, but we want to welcome him to the podcast. He has a lot of information to share about health, wellness, and all around good well-being. So I'm going to pass it off to you, Coach.
Yes, all right. Well, greetings. Peace. I appreciate you having me on. My name is Timothy Jean-Pierre, and, just a little bit about me, definitely, moved about my family. My mom's from North Carolina, my father's Haitian, but I was born in Brooklyn and moved to Richmond around 5. And, just kind of leaned on sports a little bit, as a source of development for me. My pops moved to Miami, my mom stayed in Virginia, and, sports was my way out or my way into a better situation ultimately. So I graduated from Hermitage High School, where, I played collegiate ball for Bowie State, made a couple freshman year mistakes, and then got another opportunity given to me by Coach Gillis at Norfolk State University, which is where I finished my collegiate career. Had some attempts to go play in the NFL, didn't really pan out because of, just my character at that point. So I still had to work on myself a little bit more, which ultimately led me to high school, where I began coaching and, just doing a lot of other things, growing myself, my mind, and, ultimately, here we are now.
Okay. All right, cool.
Yeah.
So what really stood out to me, I remember last year we was at one of the parent meetings, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you were speaking about, health and wellness. Because oftentimes when we speak with, or when we hear football coaches speak, they speak about the performance of the athletes on the field, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or the habits that the players have when they're on the field. But you made an emphasis about habits the players have off the field, and one, a few habits that I guess that you highlighted was the importance of proper diet, right? And eating the
Yes,
right
sir.
foods.
Yes, sir.
Right? So why is it that, I guess, as I said, most coaches highlight or focus on performances on the field or habits on the field? What drove you to want to focus in on the health and wellness aspect of the players off the field?
Well, a lot of it was my own research. Probably starting 10 years ago, I started my own business. Official Naga Juice, official NAGA, natural adjusting gastrointestinal aid. We just started saying natural adjusting gut aid. And there was a lot of things that processes that I went through, and refinement in reference to physical health.
Okay.
And I'm a digestive health counselor, by the way. So a lot of the information that I have, your typical coach probably doesn't have that information, probably didn't do that research. But, as I came across the research, it just affects us in so many different ways, thinking and performance. So it just makes sense to be able to share that information just to enhance the quality of decisions, and life that we have, because a lot of time people don't have that information, so they can't make those adjustments if they don't have that information. So that's, the short version.
The short version.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right. So it's like for the parents of athletes that are like tuning in, like what are some of the things that they should be looking at as far as their child's diet as it relates to athletics?
Well, children are in their most critical developmental stages, so a lot of these things, a lot of the food that we eat does affect cognitive abilities. It affects how they think, it affects how they respond, it affects impulse control, it affects the level of discipline. So, one thing that we really got to do is we got to give our kids the essentials, which are the fruits, the vegetables. And there are some fruits that are more beneficial than others. But, we just got to educate and be aware that the market we're living in these days, it's a lot of hybrid fruits. And you want to be aware of what a hybrid fruit is versus a non-hybrid fruit, what an organic fruit is versus an inorganic. And just be mindful, because it all affects the quality of your living, and health, water is probably number one, which is why fruit is important, because water helps the body regulate its temperature. Water also is necessary for every single organ functionality that the body has. And, it all contributes to the overall well-being of us as individuals, which can affect performance, whether it's through thinking or just physical response. So it's a lot of different reasons.
Right. Now you mentioned a term that I'm sure like some people aren't familiar with. You said hybrid fruits.
Yes, sir.
What's it, like a hybrid fruit? And you mentioned organic fruits. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
All right. So, for example, hybrid fruit, grapefruit. A grapefruit is a hybrid. All right. They took a pomelo and an orange, and you make a grapefruit. Gregory Mendel, if we go into our science class, they always taught us about Gregory Mendel. He did this hybrid. He started hybriding, playing with plants and things like that. But that kind of thought process took over the market because it was more so about the speed of the growth, the speed of the food being grown to feed a specific population, as opposed to naturally grown things that just grow themselves on Earth. So a grapefruit is a non-hybrid fruit, but like I said, a pomelo is grapefruit is a hybrid fruit. A pomelo is a non-hybrid fruit. And you'll get more essentials in your non-hybrid fruits because they are natural to this earth. So that's hybrid versus non-hybrid. Organic versus inorganic is just really based on the ingredients that they're using to grow the fruit. For example, you got organic and inorganic pineapples. The inorganic pineapples typically, and it's hard to get fresh fruits in the produce section because they always got to ship them out early before they ripe, before they get bad, it's a lot of different processes that people got to understand that that produce goes through which is why sometimes you don't get the best organic pineapples, or you may not get the best organic fruits because of how soon they're shipping these fruits out. But you know, it's just different ingredients that they use to make these, that the FDA has allowed the government to use to grow these fruits. And in the inorganic fruits, some of the materials may not be as helpful to the human body and the human body system. But, you know, that's just happened over time. So I think when I was in high school, everything was organic. And slowly they created an organic section and started charging more for it. So the question people should be asking is, well, what are they using in these inorganic fruits versus the organic fruits? But that's a light example.
Yeah, I remember reading something or watching something before where they were saying that, I guess, you know, when we were coming up, everything was organic.
Yes,
right?
sir. Yes,
Whereas
sir.
now they have to section it off to the stuff that is grown naturally as organic versus what's unnatural. Right?
Yes, sir.
Right. So,
Yes, sir.
is there a way we can kind of safeguard ourselves from that, or like as opposed to going to the supermarket, is there a place we can find organic foods at a cheap price?
Well, no. Quality, you're gonna spend more for quality than quantity. You know, it's like if you go buy a salad, you might spend some decent money on it, but if you go get a burger, you're gonna get one for real cheap. So you know, the value of health not only, you know, it increases your lifespan, but it's expensive. It is a little expensive. But yeah, so
So another question is something that you kind of touched on as well. You spoke about the connection between diet and behavior within children.
Yes.
Right? I know that you're in the classroom as well. Like, you know, you work within the school and I guess you interact with young people on a regular basis.
Yes, sir.
So can you kind of speak on that as well? Like, you know, what are there like certain foods that trigger certain types of behavior within children, and what can parents look out for?
Well, I wouldn't say certain. There are. It's more so the lack of. So when you look at the human body, you got to look at the structure that is provided before we are trying to support this structure. And you know, the human body is really has all the essences, the nature, the elements of the earth within our body. So when we eat, we have to eat with that in mind, because when we do not properly supplement, you know, our body with what is in it, the body has to pull from itself, which creates a deficiency. That's what deficiencies are. Deficiencies are when the body is trying to overcompensate for the lack of proper nourishment. So, you know, those, you know, if deficiencies come in all forms, you know, whether it be a thinking deficiency, it affects us cognitively, it affects us how we grow, how we respond, how we process, our ability to retain information quickly. And, you know, most importantly, you know, it affects our level of discipline, because if the things that we're eating aren't settling well within our body, now we got little impulses of, you know, of energy that we can't really control because of how it is aligned or not aligned with our body. So, you know, without getting into like too much terminology of the cognitive, that's kind of, you know, a general understanding of how the food and the lack of proper nourishment turns into deficiencies, and deficiencies ultimately affect us, especially at our most critical stages of development, starting at, you know, youth, you know, especially once we start getting off the breast milk, you know, because nothing is more essential than breast milk for a child. And once you get off of that, you want to go straight into your essentials. And that's typically when we start going into the foolishness. You start seeing people feed their kids whatever. And that's when the development of, you know, the lack of discipline or the deficiencies or the cognitive issues or the lack of, you know, impulse control starts really affecting our kids and thinking and behavior wise. And we know our kids are being heavily evaluated all the time. So it affects the evaluation. So, yes, sir.
Now, I remember reading like years ago that, especially like within melanated children, that
Absolutely.
the impact that the foods have on us, right? And the fact that, oftentimes we'll hear people say, within certain communities, like when it starts getting hot, that people start acting up, right?
Mhm.
And that when the sun activates the melanin, if the melanin is poisoned, then you get a poisonous reaction to it, right? Which is
Facts.
why when people say that, in certain communities or it's summertime, cats are starting to act crazy,
Yeah.
right? Because, because they're eating the food that they have available to them,
Yes,
right?
sir.
But if we're able to have the proper diet and nourish the melanin, then you'll get a different reaction.
Facts.
You know,
It's a couple examples I use with that, because you are exactly right. I tell people, like, if you take a bottle of water and you shake it up, how long does it take for you to open that bottle versus soda, right?
right,
So we want to operate like bottles of water. You can shake it up, you can open it, ain't gonna be spilling everywhere. Soda, you gotta let it settle down, and all this other stuff. But the best example I can use is, I always tell us, like, we're pots. The sun is the cooker. All right. And if you put different ingredients in a pot, when you cook it and warm it up, you get different reactions. This is why, like you said, you have different people who may have a different reaction to being in the heat. Some people, gonna act up in the heat because of that level of discomfort that is coming from the inside, the internal, discomfort.
on the cellular level.
Yes, on a cellular level, absolutely. Versus being aligned and the sun being just a slight change in temperature.
Right.
I personally, I love being hot, because it's energy. I know it's weird. Some people are like, you can't avoid the heat. I get it, you can't, but why would I avoid it? But most people do avoid it because of that level of discomfort. And some of my clients have found out, and some people that I've talked to have found out, when you change your diet, you also change your reaction to the sun. You change your reaction to certain environments. You change your response level to certain adversities. You know what I mean? And that includes emotions as well. So definitely true. It's definitely true.
And as you're talking, I'm thinking about, being a fact, like there's a lot of, like you're from the Caribbean, my family from the Caribbean as well.
Yes, sir.
That
Shouts
there's
out.
a lot of there's a lot of access to fruits and vegetables. Like I remember going to Barbados or Trinidad. I remember in the back of my aunt's house there was a mango tree, so we had mangoes all day. If you go to Barbados, you see the breadfruits growing, and everything is just available. You didn't have to go to the grocery store to buy fruits and vegetables because it's right there, and they're all water fruits.
Yes.
Right, and you're not eating heavy like chips and sodas and stuff like that.
Telling you.
You're drinking coconut water. You're eating mangoes. You're eating pineapples and all this other stuff. So within our natural environment, right, we have that tropical fruit-based, vegetable-based diet. But now we're in environments, outside of our natural state where we're not getting, what nature's calling for us to have.
Yes, facts, and that's one of the biggest problems, especially in the climate we're in. In the tropical areas, they get more sunlight, so they get a different process of growth, which is why they naturally won't grow in certain areas here. But that is 1,000% correct, man. Those fruits are essential, and come with intelligence. That food has life in it, and it comes with intelligence that aligns to our body, that helps us heal, helps us grow and develop and respond to earth in a very, very, very critical way, man. And I think that goes overlooked a lot of times. But some foods just don't grow here, and some fruits don't grow, period. like if we was to say, go out in there and say, look, man, we only gonna eat what grows naturally. Well, out goes carrots, out goes corn, out goes broccoli, out goes a lot of the fruits and vegetables that don't grow themselves, but just are grown through, a laboratory type of situation or a hybrid managing type of situation. So definitely we, have limited access to certain fruits just because of location and geography. Yes, sir.
Yeah. And how important it is, for people to read labels when they grocery shop.
How important it is for people to read, period. For real, man. We don't read. I did I went, it was a long time ago that I did an experiment. I walked around, I just asked groups of people, different cultures of people, would you rather read the book or see the movie? You know what I mean? And, our people would have rather see the movie, which, that's our people and that's our problem,
Right.
I love our people, but we got to read, man. There's so much information in the reading. And reading penetrates the subconscious mind on a deeper level. So reading is definitely important, especially when it comes to what you're putting into your body. I read labels for the first thing I'm looking for when I read labels are sugar. I'm looking for the sugar. I want to see how many grams of sugar. I typically won't buy anything that's over 15 grams of sugar. That's just a general, thing. But, you want to kind of stay away from too much processed foods as well because it just doesn't align with the body. And you got to give the body time to really truly detox certain type of things when we eat them. It takes a little bit of time to detox it. So you want to make sure you're allowing the body enough time to detox and not overwhelming it so you can kind of get rid of some of these things that don't naturally align with the body, because it will have negative long-term effects if we don't detox. We could talk about that at some point, but it's definitely it's ravishing the country and all kind of families. So definitely.
Yeah.
Peace. Are you looking for a way to teach your kids about money management and responsibility? Look no further than the GreenLight card. The GreenLight card is a debit card for kids that parents can manage through an app, giving you complete control over where and how much your child spends. With the GreenLight card, you can start teaching your kids valuable financial lessons while earning rewards at the same time. For more information about GreenLight and to get started, please click the link in the show notes below. Thank you.
Yeah. Speaking about detox, I know we kind of chatted last night, and we spoke about the importance of fasting, right? Allowing the body to cleanse itself out and get rid of impurities. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Well, fasting is the key to everything. Fasting is the key to life. Fasting is the key to health. Fasting is the key to longevity. It's the key to slowing aging. It's the key to preventing cellular breakdown. It's the key to a lot of things. Fasting, like the word breakfast is really a concept that we have misinterpreted. Because most people hear breakfast and they think bacon, egg, and cheese, or they think, breakfast is really breaking your fast, which you want to do with some warm water, some tea, and some fruit, because your body is going through a detoxification process, and the body naturally detoxes itself. For example, when you start fasting, the body starts eating the bad cells in your body. Literally goes after the bad cells first, and starts healing the body. Even when you're sick, your body automatically starts fasting. It kills your appetite, and it says, I don't want nothing else to eat. Let me deal with whatever this problem is. And sometimes, through ignorance, sometimes we always feel like we got to eat something, or something is wrong, or something ain't wrong. It's your body's trying to deal with the issue, and saying, look, I don't put nothing else foreign in me because you didn't put enough. I'm sick now. So let me deal with this issue, and then we can get back to our regularly scheduled program. But, fasting is really, it cleans up your blood. Blood is extremely important for heart health. Just the quality of blood that flows through your body truly dictates your body's ability to recover and respond, because that blood carries those white blood cells, and those white blood cells are really there to help heal and make sure the body is running properly and smoothly. So yes, fasting is a lot. I'm a man of God. If you read the Bible, if you follow, the most immaculate miracles always happen after people fasted, because they were trying to open up their gut, their center, their frequency, expanding to the Most High, and that way you get those responses from the universe a little more quickly, because of how open your spirit is to now receiving, as opposed to being covered with bad nutrition. But fasting is everything, man. Fasting is the key to life. Fasting is the solution to the majority of the problems that we have going on in the world. Fasting is a really a big thing for me, and I've seen it work miracles in my life. But people got to really practice, and we live in the consumerism of it now. So now people are starting to throw words around, and I'm intermittent fasting, which shouts out to the people who intermittent fast. However, I've been trying to figure out the concept of it, because every time I hear people explain intermittent fasting, it sounds like you're just taking breaks in between you when you eat. And my question is, well, what were you doing before that? You always just have a snack in your hand, like, but I guess it's a lot of different fasts. Daniel fast with the fruits, nuts, and stuff like that. But also, essentially, a true fast is just abstaining away from anything, allowing the body to really heal itself without distraction. So
it's funny when people don't really pay attention, but like the major religious practices, like be it Judaism, Islam, or Christianity, or several others, each one has a practice of fasting within their ideology. Like, for example, like Christians fast during Lent, Muslims fast during Ramadan, and so on. So so we all should have that as a habit within our lifestyle, taking the time to fast.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Again.
Like you said, if most people experienced it, for example, I practice the Ramadan experience just because I think it's the most extensive and intense fast. My family fasted, so I didn't have a problem with it. I was introduced to fasting at a very young age. But I think if people had the right experiences, they would truly understand, because once you get that experience, that feeling never leave. That feeling may leave you if you don't align yourself, but the lasting effect that feeling has on you, you're like, wow, like people have no clue how much better they can feel, like how much more energy they can have, how much more clarity in their thinking that they can operate off of. And it's kind of like an overweight person and somebody that's been overweight their entire life. They don't know what it's like to feel in shape. So if they get a taste of it, it will truly have a lasting effect on their life and influence them to kind of move closer to that direction. I love it. I love fasting.
Yeah. So now also understand that you have a book coming out.
Yes, I do. Shouts out to Blessed with Words Publishing Company. Been working with hopefully I said that correctly. But I got a book coming out. It's called Food for Thought. We're talking a little bit about food addiction, in America, and how it's truly a big problem. I think the number one problem we have in our country, with just control and life in general. The number one cause of death in our country is heart disease. Number 2, cancer. Number 3, doctor misdiagnoses. And they're all directly linked to obesity and improper nutrition. So these are things that we can control. And we just got to understand that a lot of these companies don't have our health in mind when they're marketing and they're building all of these restaurants. They have financial gain in mind, and not health. But that's what we touch on in the book a little bit. We got it's 9 volumes in the book.
Okay.
And the book will, the volumes it'll be split up, into 9 volumes for some people, but I'm gonna have all 9 volumes together and for one book as well. So it's just some information, that I got from some of my mentors, Dr. Sebi, Dr. Leela Africa, and some other guys that I followed and following for 10, 15 plus years. So shouts out to those guys that do that research and allow guys like me to read and follow and kind of jump and skip levels in terms of not having to do all the research that they did, but benefiting from the research that they did and then leading into my own research. So shouts out to all those guys, man. And shouts out to Miles Monroe. That's my guy. That's my guy. He connects with spirituality and kind of makes it a relevant topic of discussion in terms of what we can really do to enhance our reality. So yes, man. Shouts out to those guys. And shouts out to my mom for the, my mom wrote a book, first. So she kind of inspired me a little bit to kind of put some information out there and intellectual property matters as well for your children. We're talking finances. So yes, I'm excited about the book. I'm excited to talk about it for sure.
Right. And what's the name of your mother's book? You mentioned your mom put a book in.
Man, you just put me on the spot. I wish the name of my mother's book. I should know that because I got a couple copies, but I haven't read it. Came out probably about 5 years ago. I haven't read it in a minute. But it was a book of her poems.
Okay.
But yeah, man, I'm gonna get that information to you in a second.
Right.
Because I feel bad not having that information. I know my mom got it somewhere posted.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna do a quick.
Yes. While you're looking for that, man, I just want to shout out. You mentioned Dr. Africa. Rest in peace, Dr. Sebi. For those that are watching, definitely like 2 books I would recommend from Dr. Africa's African Holistic Health. As well as Nutricide.
Yes, right? Sir.
Nutricide.
Man, look, I got so many of his books, man. I got a lot of his books, but that one of the first books that I read from him is actually this book right here, Health Dictionaries.
Okay.
It kind of breaks down the basic structure of the body and it gives you a understanding on the true words that we use all the time and what they mean in terms of for example, talk about vitamins and minerals, right? The body is made up of elements, and elements combine to give you different vitamins and minerals, but the vitamins are just the important minerals. That's why they call vitamins. They're vital minerals. So that's where your vitamin come from. They're your most vital minerals, like for the bone structure, for blood flow, for eyesight. Those became the vitamins. They're the minerals combination. They respond. I mean, when they combine for 2 different responses, you got your steroids, and then you got your enzymes that minerals make up. The enzymes are responsible for breaking down foods and breaking down, and the steroids are stimulants. They're for causing action to happen within the body, and it goes into it, a lot into it, just the alignment aspect. But definitely, man, shouts out to Leela Africa, man. He was doing it on a level that.
Oh yeah.
He was doing it on a level that a lot of guys were not doing it on, for sure.
Yes. All right. So, and I guess when will the book be available? Is it out yet, or is it coming out soon?
Well, so the book was actually released. Well, I mean, I say released. The book was, quote unquote, done and complete on the 1st There was a couple of things the publisher wanted me to look at.
Okay.
So I held back off. I added some different headshots in there and some different my dedication page. I had to just switch up a little bit. But other than that, the book is done. So we're actually set to start doing pre-orders soon. So stay tuned for that. The book, I will have ebook as well. So it'll be electronic copies that people can purchase as well. But I'm in the process of getting a bulk order of books based off pre-sales. I'm learning the game right now, so I'm what we'll order based off our pre-sales, so we're not over ordering books, and we're able to just provide enough people with books, so I have them on hand. We'll get them in Amazon, we'll get them in the bookstores and all of that good stuff. But yeah, so the book is actually is complete now. So within the next 24 to 48 hours, you'll start seeing opportunities to jump into the pre-sale events and the ebook, obviously that will be easier to get access to more immediately. But to get a hard copy, it may be a week or so before I have them actually in my hand. Yes, sir. So stay tuned for sure.
Yeah, we'll definitely have a link. By the time this episode airs, we'll have a link in the show notes as to where you can order the book.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I appreciate you, man. For sure.
No doubt. So for people that want to get in contact with you, where can they reach you?
Well, right now, outside of social media, I try not to give my personal phone number out too much, but for my clients, they all have my number. They know they can always hit me up for information. I'm an open book for my clients. Consultations kind of come with our services. But Instagram, you can catch me on, official Naga Juice, official _Naga Juice. You can also catch me on my coach _P_Herm page, which I'm on a little more often. I check the DMs of that one way more often. It just happens to be the page, kind of dedicated to my coaching, being the head coach at Hermitage High School. So, and I'm on that one a little bit more than the official Naga page. But, we are remodeling and revamping the website, www.officialnagajuice.com. We're in the process of revamping that so we can provide not only the juices on there, but provide the books on there, provide a couple of seminars, a couple of health tips, and a page that's a little more interactive for my clients, for my people who truly seek a better way in health. So a lot of that stuff is coming around the corner right now as we speak, and I'm working on it, trying to get it out there just to give people better access to the information. So yeah, definitely. Those are some ways.
One thing, because of course I follow you on Instagram. Just your daily motivational messages that you post. It's very important.
I appreciate it, man. Well, positive self-talk is important, man. Frequency is important. Like I tell people, the frequencies we put in our body are extremely important, just like the frequencies that we put into our minds. The spirit is the spirit. The spirit is always going to try to lead you in the best direction. The question is, what are you putting up against the spirit? In terms of because the spirit going to tell you what you're doing. A lot of times we listen to it, and a lot of times we ignore it. And the more you ignore it, the more you don't operate off of it. So, health is the state of being free from illness. I always try to make sure I'm putting positive words in my mind. I try to make sure I don't listen to too much foolishness. I promise you, I've listened to enough foolishness in my life. Especially when we're going through certain phases and stages of life, not really knowing who we are and what we belong around. It's a lot of things that my subconscious mind has gone through that I don't want to continue to bubble to the surface. So I subdue it with better information continually. And I went through a long process and still going through a process of being intentional about the things that I let come into my ears and my eyes, because it influences how my being operates. So that's why I'm always just trying to put positive information out there, positive self-talk out there, because the world will be negative. Bad things are going to happen. I just choose not to be a part of that, or not to contribute towards that as much as in my control.
Right.
So that's why I do those things, man. I do believe, positive self-talk matters. Because it dictates how we deal with obstacles.
Exactly.
All the time, man. And we live in a very comparative society, man, and people, devaluing themselves all the time by comparing themselves to what somebody else is doing, when we are all equally important. There's no celebrity more important than me or you. There's nobody more important than me or you in terms of our life and how we live. So I just tend to try to keep that in the forefront and just try to share that information, because, some of that information was shared with me. So practice makes permanent.
That's right. That's right, man. It's greatly appreciated, man.
Yes,
So
sir.
again, I want to thank you for taking the time take the time today to sit down and, share your knowledge and wisdom, with the audience.
Yes, sir.
Any other thoughts you want to share before you wrap up?
Well, the mind is everything. I would just try to tell people to understand the mind is everything. As a man thinketh in his heart, so becomes the man. And the thing that people got to really understand is when, that quote was written down in the Bible, when they talked about the mind, the heart. The heart is really symbolic of the subconscious mind, and that's literally everything. We talk about, Star Wars, right? And you got the dark side, and people don't really understand what the dark side is. The dark side, for people paying attention, is not a negative or a positive force. When they talk about the dark side, the force that's in you, they're really just talking about the subconscious mind. So whatever that you put into your subconscious mind, you cannot avoid or escape. You have to carry with you. You can't do more than your subconscious mind will allow you to do. But people got to really understand, the subconscious mind doesn't tell real from fake. That's why it's very dangerous to watch too much just random entertainment, because your subconscious mind ain't saying that's fake or that's real. Your subconscious mind is literally building chemicals based off of what you saw. Like I tell people with horror movies or scary movies, if you watch a scary movie, well, why are you scared afterwards and you know that it was a movie? Well, it's because your subconscious mind can't tell real from fake. So we got to be careful how we operate. Fear is a frequency that doesn't benefit the human experience. It actually makes you more susceptible to be manipulated by people. Love is the strongest frequency the human body can hold. Anything stronger than love is radioactive. Anything weaker than fear is death. So when you operate at a fear frequency, you operate at a near-death frequency, and it's easy to manipulate you. And, they do it all the time, tricking people into do certain things by just scaring them, fear-mongering. And you got bullies that do it in the real world. They try to scare you into running when they really don't want to fight, or whatever the case is. So it's just the mind, man. The mind is everything. And if you could truly tap into your mind, if you could truly look at your brain like a refrigerator, you can only pull out what you put in. If you truly embrace that concept, you'll understand how operating and how moving up in level really works, because you can't move up if you can't have these conversations with people, and you can't have these conversations if you don't got the words to express, on the level that people gonna understand you, which is why reading is fundamental and important. So I just tell people, love yourself, which means sometimes you got to be selfish, eat right, drink water, get into some quiet space sometimes, be quiet. Like, yeah, it's a lot of little things, man. But the mind is constantly being stimulated, so you got to constantly be in a position to protect your mind. So, yeah, man. As a man thinketh in his heart, so becomes the man. So thoughts become things. Absolutely.
That's right, man. So again, man, I want to thank you for joining us, and thank everyone for watching and tuning in. We are here every Wednesday. Thank y'all for tuning in, and we see y'all next week. Peace.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me, man. This is a dope show right here, man. This is dope.
All right, no doubt.
Generational wealth.